are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
From the biggest little city in the world in the clear blue waters of Lake Tahoe, broadcasting from an undisclosed location in the Truckee River Valley on Truth Frequency Radio, this is the Awakening Liberty Show with Sean Carone.
If you came to prove, there's no reason to prove. Got yourself something funky.
And good Saturday afternoon to you all. You are tuned into the Awakening Liberty Show right here on truthfrequencyradio.com, your protection from deception all across America, all around the world. We are live and nationwide, and the number to call in is 866-26-TRUTH. Again, that number is 866-268-7884. And we'll be opening up the phone lines in the latter part of the show, second hour for certain. Got a great one for you today. But first, I am going to skip my rant. I'm going to skip some of the housekeeping. So we're going to jump right into this because we have so much to talk about. Today's broadcast contains truth that may in whole or in part be intercepted, impeded, interrupted, stolen, stored, used, and misused by a broad set of intelligence agencies, hackers, professional thieves, government operatives, and creeps. Today we have got, we're very honored and very blessed to have Henry Makow on the line with us today. He is a Canadian, his bio says a Canadian conspiracy theorist, but I would change that to realist. He's an author, a columnist, and the inventor of the board game Scruples. He's also the author of multiple books exposing the Illuminati and the satanic agenda facing humanity, including Illuminati Parts 1 and 2, and his latest in the series, Illuminati 3, There Is Only One Conspiracy. Plus, he's written a book called Cruel Hoax, Feminism and the New World Order, which I just ordered from Amazon. Really looking forward to reading that. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Henry Makow to the program. How are you doing today, Henry?
Fine, Sean, and let's start by getting my pronunciation right. It's Mako. It rhymes with tobacco.
Tobacco. I'm sorry about that. I've heard a bunch of people call it Makow. So Makow, Henry Makow to the program. I apologize for that. My deep apologies.
Yeah,
Henry,
you still haven't got it right, Sean. It's Mako, not Makow. I don't like the cow part, it's too much like mad cow, so I'd rather keep that off people's minds and just sort of Mako, like I'm a Scotchman.
Gotcha. Henry Makow. Gotcha.
Right.
We're in good. Henry, first I want to thank you so much for what you're doing for the truth and all of your work and your research. It's been very profound and very influential in my life as well as many others. And before we get started, I'd like to give you a bit of a chance to, first of all, tell everybody what got you into this and give us a little bit of your background.
Well, what got me into it was I was teaching part-time at the local university, and I tried to have a kind of pro and con discussion about feminism and try to put across my ideas about feminism and take up the subject in some of the plays and novels we were reading. I basically there's some feminists in the class, women's studies veterans, and these girls reported me that I had, they did the usual number on me, basically stigmatizing, exaggerating or distorting what I said, and and as a result, my contract wasn't renewed. And when I went to university, back in the 70s. It was a place still dedicated to free inquiry and discussion, but teaching again at university around 1999, almost 20 years later, university had totally changed, and it was really a place for a feminist indoctrination where they just will not tolerate even a discussion, and you realize that, hey, something very, very weird is happening here. Like, what's going on? And so that's what got me into it. I started doing some research. I read my friend Jim Perloff's book, Shades of Darkness. I don't know what it's called. One of his first books about the CFR, and that started me on my quest for truth around 2000.
Gotcha.
And I soon discovered that feminism was just a symptom of a much, much bigger problem. And so my website in the first 5 or 7 years was called SaveTheMales.ca, because it focused on a critique of feminism, what feminism is really all about. But then when I realized it was just a symptom of a much larger problem, I expanded my focus to the New World Order. So my website, henrymacro.com, is the mission statement is exposing feminism and the New World Order.
And give that website out again so everybody knows that, and I'll put it in the chat room as well.
Great, thanks. It's henrymacro, MAKOW.com.
Great website, too. I would highly recommend that everybody go and check it out because there's a ton of great information on there. You can also link to all of his books as well. And I spent a little bit of time on there this morning, and you just recently wrote a great article. It's, the satanic cult that rules the world. And I'm just putting this in the chat room here for everybody so they can kind of follow along with what your work is all about. And you've been quoted multiple times as saying that the society is satanically possessed. Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, it all goes back to the satanic cult that controls the world. It's basically Kabbalism, which is a part of Judaism. It seems to control Judaism, but hides behind the facade of the Old Testament and the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the New Old Testament. But it's really Satanism, and Jews don't realize this, that Judaism is essentially Satanism. And what is Satanism, in my view? The denial of God. And I mean, that's the first thing they do, is deny God. And then they say, well, the Kabbalist Jew will interpret God for the rest of you guys, because they say that God comes into the world through them. So essentially what Kabbalist Judaism is all about is replacing God with themselves. And of course, there's they spin everything according to their own self-interest and perversions, which are many. And so, so I say, well, you'll say, well, Henry, what's how can you talk about God? Like, we all know that's suspicion. That's suspicion. What's the word for
superstition?
Superstition. Yeah, thank you. And that's superstition. But God is nothing but perfection. It's what we all aspire to. How can any of us deny that we're all looking for perfection in terms of spiritual ideals like beauty, truth, love, peace, bliss, justice? I mean, that's what we're all about. We're all God lovers, but I mean, it's as simple as that. But here you have these people come along and say, oh, well, God is dead and there's no God. And it's all part of a process where they're substituting their weird satanic cult for what is natural and true, which is God, in fact, is perfection and the thing we all search for, whether we know it or not. And so there's a lot of ramifications from being inducted into this satanic cult, like this whole crazy attack on gender. Like, since when is gender a burden or oppressive? And then this, like I say, being a male or a female, and they've managed to disguise this weird occult attack on our gender identity, which, we should be screaming, it's human rights violation. How dare you attack our gender identity? But they've disguised that in terms of, these poor persecuted homosexuals, who aren't sure about their gender. We've got to conform to them. Like 98% of the population has to conform to 2% of the population are a little unclear about their gender, or who identified with their mommy when they should have identified with their daddy. I mean, that's an example of the kind of occult attack we are under constantly, every single day.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And going back through my own life and looking at the way I grew up, maleness was under attack for most of my life. I'm almost 49 years old. It almost seemed to me like the feminist culture feminized mankind. And I loved your website, Save the Males, because mankind, we have actually, the males have seemed to have lost their gender identity. They've lost who they are as men. And it's really sad to see in much of today's society.
Yeah, and that's deliberate, because they're basically domesticating us to serve them, and masculine qualities where you're protective of your family, where you have a culture in your own family which is independent of what they're telling you. A male-led family represents a challenge to them. They want our kids. They want to brainwash our kids. And frankly, I think they want to fuck our kids. And so it's all part of this long-term process where they're after our children. They're basically predators, and we're basically some kind of a population of like cattle that, instead of milking us, they get our taxes. They want our kids now. We're basically a kind of we're being farmed.
Mm-hmm. There are many people think that they're terraforming humanity to some sort of humanity 2.0, as we talk about in the Bible. Real quick before we move on, because I want to talk to you about the Illuminati. But one of the things that always is it's mysterious revelation in the Bible. And it talks about the synagogue of Satan, the Jews who are not Jews but do lie. Is that all connected to this occult in the Kabbalism?
Yeah. Those Jews are not Jews are Kabbalists. They're the Pharisees of ancient time. I just don't see a lot of evidence apart from myself and a handful of Jews like Myron Fagan and Benjamin Friedman and, Jews who more or less converted to Christianity. I don't see a lot of evidence of Jews sort of being sort of aware that they've been subverted. So I guess they're typical of all people, because even Christian churches have been subverted. I mean, it seems to me that almost all social institutions of any importance have been subverted by these Kabbalists. And Kabbalism, of course, is synonymous with Freemasonry, and so that's how they do it. They basically enlisted a lot of Gentiles to become, Jews for, Freemasonry is Judaism for Gentiles. And then and Freemasonry and Kabbalism is Satanism, and they put these people into power because they got control over the press. So they own the press, so they control our perceptions. So they put their own people in power. All the politicians are Freemasons. I don't know. What was I saying?
Well, it's all right.
You get the point. The point is we live in a matrix.
Absolutely. Completely agreed. We explore that matrix a lot on this show. Matt Smith just posted a meme in the chat room of a small boy that's saying, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. And below that is a whacked out progressive liberal, the Patriot Federation, that says, you little transphobe bigot. I mean,
well, exactly. That is example. No, that liberal is someone who's been inducted into the satanic cult, because liberalism, socialism, communism, Kabbalism, it's all Freemasonry, it's all this Zionism, it's all the same thing. So that liberal has been inducted into the cult, and now she's attacking, and she's kind of a ram, to inculcate everyone else into her cult. Mm-hmm. And part of this cult is the denial of gender. It's totally satanic and it's totally occult.
Are the elite, the power structure of this world, those who are espousing all of this progressive ideologies, are they moving towards a transhumanist agenda where we will have a genderless society?
Well, I think obviously they're moving towards that. Whether they're successful or not, I'm not sure. I'm not sure they're going to be successful because they're basically going against human nature. And in spite of their whole huge campaign, if I just go for a walk in my own neighborhood, it's just full of young couples with children in trams. And also, mostly, I have to live in a mostly white neighborhood, and so the white race isn't going anywhere, and neither is heterosexuality in the family. It seems that somehow people are not taking this brainwashing all that seriously. It's just that it's happening, but people are following, thank God, are following their own instincts.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I seem to think that critical thinking has become a lost art these days. And what we see going on in the mainstream media, and you made the point eloquently that they are owned. I mean, everything that we see on TV seems to be a matrix of sort, lies, propaganda. They're moving towards an agenda. And when we speak about the Illuminati, one of my favorite things to talk about is the music industry. And Henry, I was a professional musician for a long time. I never made it big because I guess I wouldn't conform. But I had friends who did, and they were wrapped up in some serious satanic occult behavior. And most of them, they're not even the same people anymore, Henry. How first of all, let's talk about what is the Illuminati, because everybody talks about it. Well, the Illuminati, it's a big conspiracy theory. It's not, is it?
It's very simple. The Illuminati are the Kabbalists I'm talking about, but they're the top ranks. The initiated, the people who've done the dirty deeds that allow them to go up the ladder. But they wouldn't be important if it wasn't the fact that the central bankers of the world are Kabbalists. They're Kabbalist Jews. And they've enlisted a lot of Gentile Freemasons to do their, dirty work for them. And that's the Illuminati is the highest rank. It's a secret Freemasonry. It's a secret society within a secret society, being Freemasonry. And, as far as I'm concerned, I could be wrong here, but you don't need to go any higher than the Rothschilds. But there's probably hundreds of, I don't know, maybe 100 or maybe fewer initiated people who run this secret government. You call it the deep state. That's controlling everything, and they're clever. They're clever.
Oh, yeah. These people, there's people are geniuses as far as I can tell. I mean, they plan this out years and decades, even centuries in advance.
Absolutely, and they managed to keep us totally fighting with each other and totally unaware of of who they are and how they're manipulating everything. And just to digress, the CBC is the government radio in Canada. Government. I pay for it through my taxes, and every time I turn it on, I kid you not, they're talking about a new program at the local public library: drag queens reading to little children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you believe it? So that these children would be able to have new role models. What kind of society basically takes people who are probably pretty messed up and sick and makes them role models for children? That's a satanic cult, because a satanic cult There's no mystery about it. It's about it controls people and exploits people by making them sick. And so that's my key message. We live in a toxic environment, socially and politically, and we have to be extremely protective of ourselves.
And again, looking at the music industry and these videos, Miley Cyrus just recently did a video where she is dressed in a baby's outfit in a crib in sexually perverse poses. And these are supposed to be our kids' role models. These drag queens are supposed to be our kids' role models. Something is seriously wrong here. Something is going on that people need to wake up to. It's not just art.
Oh, absolutely. It's the art, all right. It's the art of a satanic cult. Most, just like our politicians are all Freemasons, they're all Illuminati. Our entertainers are mostly all Illuminati too.
Yeah.
And that's why people like Ellen DeGeneres, Trump has no place on my show and so on. They're all Hollywood. They're all gonna leave the States if Trump got elected. Well, Trump has turned out to be a bit of a disappointment for patriots. Hasn't quite lived up to his contract to America, but he has done a lot. And as a lot of people are saying, Trump's biggest accomplishment is he isn't Obama and he isn't Clinton. So he represents some relief. But getting back to the point, the whole elite in our society are Freemasons, political, entertainment, probably business, military, church. I mean, they're all Satanists in effect, whether they know it or not. And then there's a whole level of useful idiots who don't know what's going on, who provide a kind of camouflage for this system.
They're running interference.
Absolutely.
Absolute distraction. And you mentioned how our government and this toxic environment with political, everything that's going on in the world. And I have to ask you this, because one of my big topics I talk about on the show a lot is health and wellness. And we focus on things like vaccines and pharmacological medication, where the Rockefellers basically instituted allopathic healthcare, and the fallacy of allopathy, which is that we can have better health through injecting toxic substances into our body. Even the corporations have been infiltrated by these odious sycophants, these psychopaths, these satanic freaks. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Sean, you say even our corporations. Our corporations are all owned by these capitalist central bankers, owned or controlled. You only need to own 5% of the stock, or even less, 4 or 3, to control a company. So, you got to wonder what Federal Express and Wells Fargo have to do with boycotting North Carolina because they didn't want trannies in women's bathrooms. I mean, what is that? Why do all these corporations suddenly have a social agenda, eh? Because they're all owned by the central bankers. It's communism, except we don't recognize it. But communism is when the central bankers, these filthy rich Masonic Jews and Freemasons, basically they want to extend their monopoly over credit, and we should talk about that, into a monopoly over everything, and they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit about that. I had a guest on here recently who said that communism, fascism, those aren't the biggest dangers, but it was technocracy and the religion of scientism. Your thoughts on that?
Well, that's obviously not my shtick. It could be that person's shtick. My shtick is the Kabbalists and their control over education, the church, the media, the corporations, everything. It's gone to the point where, the media has just come right out, and they just lie through their teeth. Trump only got elected because somehow the Russians, got hacked how did they hack the election? They invent stuff. And then you have their entertainers like Colbert, who are just, totally filthy, and they were totally off the reservation in terms of their hatred and criticism of Trump. Trump isn't perfect, but nobody, in a civil society should be treated that way.
Yeah, absolutely not. And I keep hearing this whole Russian thing. They hacked the election. It's the only reason that he got elected, and that Comey is coming out saying, "Oh my gosh, I was responsible for Hillary's downfall in the election." But here's what I see happening: is that the Russians will continue to hack our elections every time a Republican or a conservative or somebody who opposes the agenda. That will continue to happen. That will be continue to be the psyop until somebody who gets elected who is a progressive liberal or a communist or a fascist or a technocrat, whatever it might be, and then the Russians weren't involved at all.
Well, absolutely. And when you see people, when you see all these Democrats like just going hysterical, like we had hysterical, what you're really seeing are people who are inducted into, who've been programmed. They're in this cult mentally, and then reality or something interferes with their programming, and they're having a breakdown, a meltdown. We put up with Obama for 8 years. We put up with this nonsense for 8 years, letting in everyone, the panhandlers from Karachi, bring them in. Everyone come, Yeah. We put up with that, put up with this transgender bathrooms. We put up with all that socialist nonsense. The guy's a communist.
Absolutely.
He's a communist.
Henry,
we put up with that for 8 years, and we didn't have a meltdown.
Henry, hold that thought. We're going into break. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk about the banking systems, the Federal Reserve. We're going to get more into the Illuminati and the role of the Jews. Stay tuned, everyone.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
I'll bust it one time. Truth and liberty. Fighting the New World Order and the tyranny. The Awakening Liberty Show with Sean Carone.
And welcome back to segment 2 of the Awakening Liberty Show right here on Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception all across America, all around the world. The number to call in is 866-268-7884. Excuse me. That number is 866-26-TRUTH. I'd like to welcome real quick everybody in the chat room. Lucky, Beverly, Charles, Gav, George Hangst, Jack, Matt Smith, Mr. What does that say? Mr. Nobody. I love some of these names in here. Molly Gordon, Charlie, Rock and Rhino, Speed Chief, Star the Oracle, Stefan Gray, TFR Wookie, Thomas Silk, Zealous Zapitsky. Always a pleasure and an honor to have you guys join me on the Saturdays and Sundays that I do this broadcast at 2 p.m. Pacific time. My guest today, and I got to get this right, is Henry. It's tobacco, like tobacco. Oh God, Henry!
Well, why is it so hard, Mako?
Mako, because I actually had this in my head for so long. I was mispronouncing it. It's like my brain isn't working. It's a senior moment. So, but Henry is the author of multiple books, Illuminati Parts 1 and 2, and his latest in the series, Part 3. There is only one conspiracy, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about, feminism. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. One of the biggest things I think is going on with this Illuminati is the banking cabals, obviously the Federal Reserve. Those people who are in the know, Henry, actually know that the Federal Reserve is a private bank. This monopoly on fiat currencies being spread around the globe, having to deal with paying interest on, like I said, a fiat currency, something that is being actually just made out of thin air. This is crazy. And then we have things like the BIS, which is the Bank of International Settlements. They are kind of like the central bank for the central bankers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the key is, from my perspective, the key to understanding money is that it's an abstraction. All that currency in your wallet, it might as well be monopoly money. I mean, if you could take that monopoly money to the grocery store and buy $100 worth of groceries, use and pay with monopoly money, you'd have U.S. currency, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all based on faith, and our whole financial system. It's largely psychology. It's basically what people are willing to do, and this is why people have to be controlled and conditioned and manipulated, so that they will accept this currency, as though it had any inherent. It's all psychology. Like when you write a check for $2,000, someone cashes it. An armored truck doesn't come up to your bank, get $2,000 in cash, and then drive it over to that other person's bank. It's just an accounting system. A few digits are added to his account, some digits are subtracted from your account. It's totally abstract, and so. And essentially, we've got to watch ourselves, because all our money that's in the bank, we're basically banking with our worst enemies. And at any time, when they want to really mess things up, they can just shut our accounts down. There are our bankers. All these banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, are just fronts for the Fed. So no wonder they have this kind of power and influence. They create money out of thin air. They basically give it to their agents to do their bidding, and these are the captains of industry.
Right. And the Rothschilds were certainly part of this whole banking cabal. When this whole thing started, it really should probably just stop at them. But then we have people like the Rockefellers and the JP Morgans and the minions in the United States that came over and started to influence our debt system and put people in perpetual debt and basically enslave them. Are these considered illuminated people, or are they just complicit for their own profit?
Well, from my perspective, they look to me that J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller were all basically agents of the Rothschilds and the central bankers. They were central bankers themselves. I mean, the Rockefellers still own a number of banks. So J.P. Morgan and so on. So this cabal, which is based on central banking, what's that called again? It starts with F. I'm sorry, I'm a bit
the fiat currency.
Fiat currency. Yeah. So
fractional reserve banking too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how they run everything, and people can create money and own the golden goose. They have a lot of friends, because basically human beings are animals, and our first priority is food and shelter, and then more money and all the toys the money can buy.
Right. Okay, I want to ask you a little bit about the hand signs that we see these politicians flash, the hand signs that we see those in our entertainment industry. How much is this connected to the Illuminati and the Satanic cult?
Well, they're signs of recognition. They're basically telling their fellow Freemasons that hey, I'm part of the conspiracy. That's how they originated in the first place. These handshakes, it's so they can recognize each other, because they're basically subversives. They're basically traitors. They're basically there to just use the way things are supposed to be to fool the rest of us into thinking that the nonsense that's going on in the world actually makes sense. And so the hand signs and, all through the election campaign, I was pointing to the fact that Trump is constantly making Illuminati hand signs, the inverted pyramid, the same hand signs that Merkel makes. And so you've got to wonder, I mean, you got to realize that they're two branches of the same club. What we are is a kind of spectators to at best a family feud, at worst a charade. where two branches of Freemasonry, duke it out. But it's nothing like we think that we live in a free country and that we actually have a choice. I mean, just look at the last few American elections. It's just Freemasons against Freemasons. George Bush and John Kerry, skull and bones. Give me a break,
Yeah.
I mean, it's right in our face. And Trump and Clinton, they're all Satanists. Now, Trump is basically got in by recognizing that there's a kind of unrest in the land, and he got in by getting his friend Stephen Bannon to put all kinds of dog whistles so people like you and me will think that Trump's actually on the level, is actually going to correct these things. And it was a very smart tactic, and it won because as many liberals as there are, there's still a few more conservatives who don't want to see the country go down the drain. And so Trump got in, but it starts to get into the politics of Freemasonry and the politics of communism, and there seems to be two house teams. One the Stalinists, the other the Trotskyists. And the Stalinists I'd call communists, people like George Soros and Barack Obama, and the Trotskyists are the Zionists. And so there was always a rift between the Zionists and communists. And Trump got in by appealing to the Zionist Jews. And that's the branch of communism that we're experiencing. All these neocons are communists. They admit it. Mm-hmm. They were communists. They pretend to be conservatives, but they're communists.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because I've been very outspoken against Trump. In fact, I was actually dumbfounded that Trump actually won. It seemed like those in control, the ones that are pulling the purse strings, pulled the rug out from Hillary for whatever reason. But this does appear that this is some sort of, I like where you put it, warring factions between two criminal gangster mafias in our government. And do we have an oligarchy? I mean, is our vote, does it even matter? I mean, is this all set in stone previous?
Well, it's a oligarchy be an understatement. We're colonized. We just don't know it. And they think the best way to handle the herd is for the herd to think it's free, and to think that they're responsible and they actually control anything, and that our property is actually our own and can't be snatched away at any moment. That's we're being domesticated. We're the herd. We're interest payers. If it weren't for us, they wouldn't be getting their interest on this money they create out of nothing, right? And there wouldn't be any demand if they got rid of us. So everything they own, and they own everything, wouldn't have much value, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So we're part of the equation, in the same way that the cattle on a farm are part of the equation.
The whole thing seems to be an illusion, and that's what it's looked at. I used to say, vote for Republicans, everything will be fine. But as I lived my life, I watched the pendulum swing back and forth, and nothing really changed. I want to ask you a little bit about what the role of the Jews are and Israel in this whole worldwide conspiracy, this satanic conspiracy, this Luciferian agenda, if you will.
Well, one way to look at the whole thing is to look at the Old Testament and look at the Talmud and look at the statements of various Zionists who basically say the Goyim, the non-Jew, are subordinate, and they're basically animals, and they're there to serve the Jews, and so it's one way to look at it is just to sort of put that paradigm on top of what the Illuminati and what's happening. And so what we've got is a system where a minority is colonizing the majority. And I think there's a lot of validity to that, because the communists are all Jews. They're not, but not all the Jews are communists. There's a difference. And in case your listeners don't know this, I'm a Jew.
Yeah.
And I, but I'm what's called an assimilated Jew. And there are quite a few of us, but we don't speak up. But an assimilated Jew is a Jew that identifies with the country in which he lives and with the welfare of that country and the people of that country. So when that country is being subverted, we try to speak up in its defense. But anyway, so obviously not all most Jews aren't even aware of this paradigm, and certainly not all Jews are involved. But a goodly number are, as we can see, because when we look at liberal ranks, when we look at the liberal media, they're basically dominated by Jews, and now increasingly they're liberal and feminist converts and other minority converts, because that's what they're doing now, is empowering minorities and bringing in migrants as a form of invasion. They're trying to make the native, the European origin people of the West. They're turning us into minorities, and soon we're going to lose all political power. And I think Trump got in because he appealed to that fear on the part of European origin Americans, and that's how he got in. And whether he's going to fulfill his promise remains to be seen. Everyone's watching him closely.
Right. And I find it interesting too.
But let me just say,
go ahead.
Trump's Jewish. I'm pretty sure he's a crypto Jew. If you look at his mannerisms, Jews have Judar. We recognize Jews. Trump's Jew. To my mind, he's Jewish. His mannerisms are Jewish. He's a frigging real estate developer.
Right.
Give me a break. He's Jewish. His daughter married another real estate developer and supposedly converted to Judaism. Yeah, so the Jews are a big part of the New World Order, a huge part of it. But but they're not. But the way these conspirators work is they manipulate people, because someone who's manipulated is who really thinks he's free and doesn't have the facts. These people are useful idiots. That's the communist term, and they're far more effective. Useful idiots are far more effective than someone who has to actually make a moral decision and say, "Oh, I've gone over to the dark side."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and most of these people are certainly on the dark side. In fact, when people go to defend some of these people, I'm like, look what they are involved in. How can you defend what most of these people, especially when we see pedophilia running rampant at the higher echelons of government, politics, not just here in the United States, but also abroad. When we talk a little bit, and I mentioned this earlier, the synagogue of Satan and the Rothschilds, and I want to ask you a little bit, because everybody talks about Zionism, and there's a lot of confusion out there. Can you explain what Zionism is real quick?
Well, yeah. In my view, the central bankers have sort of cloaked themselves in various causes that advance their cause, which is a monopoly over everything. They want our thoughts, our beliefs, our property, our children, So they basically cloaked that in the ideology of communism and Zionism, are both Jewish creations. And Zionism is just a one pincer, communism being the second pincer, in their quest for world domination. Why do people have to control the way other people live, the way they think? Why do they have to attack their gender identity? Why do they have to attack their marriages? Why do they have to attack the love between men and women, attack the love between women and children? Why? I mean, that's a satanic impulse. And unfortunately, this is the cult within Judaism. It's Sabbateanism, Frankism. I call it as well Kabbalism, that basically, grew up in Judaism. Who knows exactly where it originated, but certainly had a revival in the 17th century, and then again in the 18th century. And that's what they're all about. They're really all about serving the devil. And the way you do this is by breaking all of God's commandments, and basically by having sex and murdering children. I mean, it's basically the equivalent of doing evil is the way they obey Satan. Just like doing good might be your way or our way of obeying God, right?
Right.
And so, they managed to. I mean, it's really all about Satanism versus God. Satan versus God. That's why I say there's only one conspiracy. And unfortunately, the stormtroopers on the side of Satan are the Freemasons, in my view. And as I've said before, they're basically servants of organized Jewry. Although they probably think that, and it may even be true, they may think that they're going to have a seat at the table and they're just going to blame it all on Jews like they did during the Second World War. But the Jews that got killed in the Second World War were the non-Zionist Jews, the Jews that weren't in on the conspiracy, like my grandparents. And that was used as leverage to start the state of Israel and to, create a lot of sympathy for Jews.
Yeah, absolutely. And people got to understand that this conspiracy goes all the way back to the garden. This is a classic case, a supernatural battle between the dark and the light, between good and evil, whatever you want to look at it as. That's what's going on here. And, you mentioned World War II, Hitler, and the Holocaust. And so much of the banking system today seems to hide behind things like the ADL. They hide behind any criticism of the banking industry, and they call it bigotry, they call it racist. Is that what they're using the ADL for?
Absolutely. And I've written a number of articles to the effect that anti-Semitism is perfectly understandable. And people should be, and I say this as a Jew, Jews should be anti-Semites. All of us, we should all be anti-Semites because Jews have been, basically at the forefront of attacking the moral order. The Kabbalist Jews have been. So what's the question again?
Oh, well, I was just wondering if they're certainly hiding behind the ADL. Obviously,
what they're hiding they're hiding behind charges of anti-Semitism and so on. Isn't it amazing? Like, you listen to the coverage of the French election, and Le Pen is extreme right, extreme right. You couldn't get any more right. Well, Macron is centrist. Like, can you believe this shit?
Yeah, it's off the hook crazy. Yeah. Are the people talk about the protocols of Zion? Are they authentic?
In my opinion, they're 100% authentic. Just read them. I've read them 5 times. You read them and you can't get over, like, oh my God. Like, they go into all the things that are happening, like especially the control of the press and the guy who wrote that, I think he's a banker, like, can't understand. He said, like, I can't understand how stupid these Goyim are, the Goyim kings. I mean, they could create their own money. They don't need us to do it and pay us back. They could do it themselves, Mm-hmm. That's in the protocols of Zion.
Yeah, in fact, that's the whole fractional reserve banking and this whole fiat currency. It just blows my mind that people don't understand this, folks. And then your tax dollars. Well, we're going to use our tax dollars for things like fire departments and police. That's not what's happening. In fact, the interest that we're paying back on this fiat currency, this money created out of thin air, we can't even pay back the interest. That's why the debt is so high. It will never go away. They have got everybody enslaved.
Absolutely. And that, it's kind of onerous because, if they ever try to, supposedly collect the debt, I mean, if they collected the debt, there wouldn't be any currency. That $20 trillion is the sum total of the credit and currency that's floating around the world. That's keeping the economies of the world going because they can exchange things. A currency is just a medium of exchange.
Yeah. What's the solution? I mean, what do people got to do here to break this cognitive dissonance about what's really going on in the world?
Well, you asked two questions there. What's the solution? And then you said the other question was, what do people have to do just be aware and read and do what we're doing, which is sharing information, which is what all the people in the conspiracy world are doing. As for solutions, I don't see it. I don't know. I only see personal individual solutions. I think we need to, I hate to say this because I'm in the business of writing and thinking about the stuff, but we really need to think about other things. We need to, control our thoughts and try to find happy things to think about and focus our energies on positive, happy things. Because this is, the big picture is not a happy picture. And I also believe in doing our bit, in joining various causes like, fighting pedophilia and fighting sex education in our public schools.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, children have a right to be innocent. To have the government grooming children for pedophiles. That really takes your breath away.
Yeah, we have legislation right here in Nevada. It used to be that you had to opt into sex education. Now you have to opt out. So if you're, as a parent, don't opt out with this new legislation, they're just going to teach your kid whatever they feel is right. And of course, the education system's been hijacked by these same wackos who are in power.
Absolutely. And you're lucky you can opt out. In a lot of places, you can't opt out.
Well, we can still carry a gun on our hip here, so.
Oh, well, good for you. And that's one of the great things. That's one of the only things that keeps Americans free. Never, ever give that up.
Absolutely not.
And all those false flags were all designed to take guns away.
Every single
one. And what's nice about Trump is there hasn't been a false flag in America since he was elected. So, we're in the case of Stockholm syndrome. We're being held hostage, but we prefer the good cop to the bad cop.
Absolutely. Henry, we're running out of time here. I wish we could keep you for another hour. I'd love to have you come back to the show. Give out your websites again so that everybody can follow your work.
Well, it's just henrymakow.com, MAKOW.
And Henry Macko. I got it. Henry Macko. I've got it. Okay. I've been pronouncing it so wrong, and that's so embarrassing. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your information and your factual research on this important subject, and look forward to talking to you again. Thanks, Sean. Me too. Bye for now. Bye-bye. Everybody stay tuned. We've got Ray Songtree. He's going to be coming up and he's going to be joining us. We're going to be kind of expanding on what Henry and I talked about. His book, Begging Faith, Volume 2, Identifying the Assault on Virtue and Family. It's going on all around us, especially in the Hollywood and music industry. Everybody stay tuned. The Awakening Liberty Show is going to be right back.
Wherever you are, make it Truth Frequency Radio.
Hi everyone, this is Sean from the Awakening Liberty Show. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Have you ever thought about investing in food and water storage? Well, if you have, I urge you to check out my one-stop prepper shop. AwakeningLibertyStore.com carries the full line of legacy premium, non-GMO, made-in-USA emergency food storage and survival gear. Folks, I've tried them all, and Legacy Premium is the best I've found. Boasting the lowest cost per pound, the lowest cost per calorie, and the largest serving size in the industry, Legacy Premium is simply the best. Not to mention it was voted best tasting in blind taste tests, and I personally concur. Shop AwakeningLibertyStore.com and use coupon code PATRIOT for a special listener discount, or call me personally at 775-276-4046. Once again, AwakeningLibertyStore.com.
And we are back, hour number 2 of the Awakening Liberty Show right here on truthfrequencyradio.com. Stay tuned because the show is going to get more interesting. I want to thank Henry for joining us. That's a plethora of information, and please do go and check out his website. There's so much stuff on there. In fact, every day I've been checking it out because there's all kinds of stories to keep me, engaged in what this is. But I like what Henry was saying. Real quick housekeeping. AwakeningLibertyShow.com. Stop by and say hi. AwakeningLibertyStore.com. Big sale going on. Use coupon code Mayday. Again, coupon code Mayday at AwakeningLibertyStore.com and get 15% off of the best emergency food in the business and survival gear. I like what Henry was saying is that we have to change the way we think. And I've often said that the only thing we really have any control over in this illusion, this matrix that we are living in, is what we choose to think. And I got to tell you, doing what I do, doing this radio show, engaged in all of this troll activity. I mean, recently I did some vaccine shows, and it's troll after troll after troll, attack after attack after attack. It's very difficult to stay positive. And I have to pray continuously because there are days when I want to throw up my hands and say, you know what, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm done doing this. I want to quit. But it's being driven by a higher power. It is being driven by God. It is being driven by my passion for truth. It is being driven by the fact that I see so many of my brothers and sisters being murdered through pharmacological medication, vaccines. I see them murdered with chemtrails, aerosol spraying. I see them being murdered with GMO foods. I see them being murdered across the world in wars, fake wars, illegal wars. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. And it's very difficult to focus on positive things. But, I ended up doing this after Liam was born. And he's the most positive thing in my life. He's the biggest blessing I've ever had in my life. And for that, to God, I'm eternally grateful. So I stay in the comfort of knowing that there is a reward for me not only following God's law, for not only following God's teachings, for not only following the anti-evil and following for truth, liberty, and freedom, and trying to maintain these things, there is a reward, and it will come in the eternal. And that I will one day again meet those that I love, that I've lost. So without further ado, I want to bring Ray Songtree on. He is standing by live from Hawaii. And his book, Begging Faith, Volume 2, Identifying the Assault on Virtue and Family, is part of the Lipstick and War Crime series. And you can check out his website as well. Ray, welcome to the Awakening Liberty Show. Welcome back.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You're loud and clear.
Great. It was very frustrating for me because I was not able to hear your show with Henry. I had 2 different computers, 2 different, one was ADL, one was cable, and I would get tiny snippets, and it was I really missed that show. I hope it's archived and I can listen to it.
Everyone is archived. It'll be on YouTube and actually Patreon too. I just opened a Patreon account today, so look me up there as well and support the show, please, definitely. And if you mentioned me not being able to listen to the show, hey, you guys can listen on the phone. All you got to do is dial 641-793-7117. That is our listen by phone number. So wherever you are, make it TFR. Ray, I'm sorry you weren't able to hear the show, and it was actually very good, except for me mispronouncing his last name. I've been mispronouncing it for years, apparently.
How does he like to pronounce
it? Like tobacco, Mako. I thought it was Macau.
Mako.
And he made the great point. I want to avoid the mad cow sounding. So Mako, and that was embarrassing, but I've done that before. But that's part of the business. You live and learn,
So the one little tiny thing I heard him say was that for him, God was like an ideal of perfection, beauty, justice, that kind of thing. And then it got cut off. It was so what? Coming into this a bit cold, where would you like to go?
Well, let's first talk about your website, and then we'll talk a little bit about your book, and then we'll open it up.
Okay. I'm very much a person like Sean. I have a family with young children, and one thing led to another. My big started to wake me up, was realizing that I was not told the truth about 9/11. And then I started researching that, buying every book, and then that led to another, and that led into many directions. It went into politics, it went into economics, it went into spirituality, went into culture, it went into history. And as all of us have done who've started this study, we start to see that there are common threads. And so to try to make it relevant for young people, the thread that I hit pretty hard was the music industry and the entertainment industry, to show that they are very much organized and suppress what they want to suppress and promote who they want to promote. An example I can give right now is the same person who sang at Whitney Houston's, basically her funeral, Jennifer Hudson, is now on The Voice. Okay? So these people are promoted, and whether Jennifer knows that Whitney Houston was murdered, I don't know that, but she's trusted to keep her mouth shut. And these are the people who are promoted, and see, these are the people everyone looks up to. You know, Miley Cyrus is on The Voice now. Alicia Keys is on The Voice now. These are all minions. Anyone can look them up. Look up Miley Cyrus, All Seeing Eye. Look up Alicia Keys, All Seeing Eye. Look up Jennifer Hudson, All Seeing Eye. And look under the images, not the web. And you'll see them, doing what they're told to do. They are obedient slaves. And they are the people being promoted and well known to carry it on. If you look into who did free concerts for Hillary Clinton, they were all Illuminati slaves. Okay, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Jennifer Hudson, all these people. And you start to see, wow, there's this tie between the entertainment industry and everything else. The entertainment industry is teaching our children how to twerk. Did anyone know what the word twerk meant? I didn't. Now it's on, you see, and all kind of cartoon movies that my daughter watches. There you'll see little cartoon figures twerking. And it's like, what does that have to do with marriage? It has nothing to do with marriage. And this is a subliminal, ongoing erosion of our culture into an immoral culture, and you put it all together. You put together the pedophilia and the satanic rituals in the pedophilia, and who's involved with that? Well, the entertainment industry is completely, and so is the world of politics and the world. So you see all that, and
it's all over, Ray. We're buried in it. And for those of you who don't know what twerking is, twerking, defined by Wikipedia, is a type of dance in which an individual, usually a female, moves to music in a sexually provocative manner involving thrusting hip movements and low squatting stance. Twerking is also known as booty shaking, peep popping, and pussy popping, and bounce, depending on the context. That is defined by Wikipedia as twerking. We do see this type of sexually pervasive dance everywhere.
So when a woman shakes her behind at you, that's twerking. And, so Miley Cyrus was put on Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people. I think that was 2015, because she taught the world twerking. I mean, this is, in Time magazines, for people who study it, understand. This is a Rothschild, New World Order magazine. So one starts to see the layers and then the intersecting layers. Then for me, coming from a non-Christian background, I saw very clearly with my eyes, and I'm not coming from a Christian place, the attack on Christianity, the attack on Jesus, the attack on family. And I realized that though I'm not a Christian per se, I'm my allies, and I'm an ally of Christians. And I've told Sean in the past about I've had personal interactions with this spirit being that we call Jesus. So I have these connections, and I saw this attack. So the title "Lipstick and War Crimes" has to do with the attack is full spectrum. The attack is on our sense of identity, our sense of culture, the sexuality of our kids. All of that's being attacked. Everything's being attacked, and then the world, the environment's being attacked, and then all these countries are being taken down for regime change to make the one world government. That's for real. That's really our troops are doing it. So this is the war crimes part. So it's one continuum of bad news. Go ahead, John.
And let's be fair to our troops. Much love to you all, and Godspeed, and be safe out there. But if you come to the realization, if you come to the truth, lay down your arms, get out, okay? This is what's going on. Don't blindly follow your leaders. Stand up for what you believe in, especially when we get into situations where we're just, we're fighting. God, it just pisses me off. ISIS, ISIL, Al-Qaeda, these are all organizations that are funded, armed, and trained by Western intelligence agencies. Please, to our military men and women, please wake up. It's very important that you do so. We know you're defending our country, and we thank you for that. But let's start defending humanity, not just this elite wacko cabal that's running things.
Right. And for vets who are out there who hear this, it's natural to get really defensive and say, hey, hold on, I've taken oaths, I've devoted my life to this, I really believed I was doing the right thing. But if one studies it, if you study people like Ken O'Keefe, who you can find, he's a big spokesman from Hawaii, he was a Marine.
I love Ken.
Or you go back 100 years to, who wrote Stanley? Okay, I blew it. Yeah, War is a Racket is his book.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
100 years old. This guy, he was a very, highly honored soldier.
Smedley Butler.
Yes, and he realized all these wars, this is 100 years ago, were being run for banksters who didn't care about anybody. And this is 100 years ago, nothing has changed. So for veterans, I'm not saying, and I don't think Sean's saying that you're bad people. Not at all. We know you're just exactly like me and myself and Sean. But when you're, let's say, going to Iraq and you're told we're going there because there's weapons of mass destruction, and then none are found, you have to ask, well, why did we go? And Afghanistan's the same way. We've been there over 15 years, and I ask my friends on Facebook, I say, are we there because there's a lot of lithium there? Are we there to do an oil pipeline? Are we there to keep opium poppies growing? Why in the heck are we there? So.
And Ray, why have we been there for 16 years? We're fighting a military over there that doesn't have, they're running around with 50-year-old Soviet weaponry. They don't have any infrastructure. They don't have a Navy. They don't have an Air Force to speak of. And they don't have any intercommunication. And we've been there for 16 years. This doesn't make any sense. We're the biggest military might on the planet. It's absolutely crazy.
So getting back to what Henry said, the way we think. So when we're a soldier, we're told to obey orders, and basically don't think, just obey. But a person, we're all thinking people, and every vet who's watching this and every family who has someone in the military listening to this knows, hey, we are thinking people, and we can start to ask questions like, why are we still in Afghanistan 16 years later? Why? And we can think, and we can question authority, and we should. And that's not a very military mindset, but we all need to get there. We kind of went off in that direction. But my book was trying to draw all this together. And one of my aspects, I have different aspects of myself. One is that I have Jewish blood. And so when I come out and question the authority of Israel, question the authority of Judaism, question the authority of the Old Testament, I know, and people can call me an anti-Semitic. I don't care if they do. That's fine. They can call me that if they want. I'm looking for the truth. I'm asking these questions because I see the falsehood. I can go really far with Israel if Sean wants, but for people who've been taught, and Sean and I have talked about the Schofield Bible, which was another Bible put forward to kind of glorify Jews and glorify Israel to set up the New World Order. The New World Order is using Israel very much. Ben Gurion was the first prime minister of Israel, and he came out in I think it was 1961 in Look magazine, and saying, Israel's going to have the Supreme Court for the whole world. Well, now we see that Supreme Court has been built, and it was built by Dorothy Rothschild, or Germans would say Rothschild, and on top of it is a Masonic pyramid with an all-seeing eye. And you can't make this stuff up. It's real. The Illuminati is controlling Israel. It's all one continuum. So the same entertainment industry and the same politics of the world and the same banksters. Warren Buffett has a book about, how to succeed. And on his book cover is a triangle with an all-seeing eye.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So it's one continuum. And then a person like myself and Sean, many of you, we look into, well, where is the Bible at with this? What is Satanism? What is it? And then we go there. And it's, I'll say in my research, that I am not loyal to anything Jewish. I'm not loyal to, I want the truth. I want this destruction to end. And it's not just destruction of our morals. It's really, as we all know, as Sean has covered many times, our environment, our earth, is being destroyed. So what is behind that? And I've looked into it. I have my analysis of the whole thing.
And I like to word the use terraforming. They are changing this world, obviously, for humankind 2.0. They are destroying it, or who knows? I mean, maybe they're terraforming this for the fallen angels to be able to survive here, when in fact they cannot now. I found that very interesting.
For those who might not know what Sean meant there, because you haven't heard this before, there is. The chemtrails are real, and that's very easy to look up. If you look up geoengineering, and you look up the government authorities who say they're into geoengineering, and a great one is geoengineering Bill Gates. That's a great search. You'll find that it's real, and they are spraying, among other things that are changing the soil, that are attacking our bodies in different ways, and doing things to the ocean, and it goes on and on. So when Sean mentioned terraforming, we're not making this up. This isn't theory. This is really happening. So then we get into, well, who are they doing this for? And then one way to talk about it would be fallen angels. Another would be aliens, some kind of alien presence. David Icke uses the word reptilians. I mean, there's something going on that's not of this earth, that doesn't care about the earth. And that's a gigantic place to go to. For myself, that was a huge leap after many other leaps. But that is the conclusion one comes to when one finds out that Colonel Corso wrote a book the day after Roswell. And he says, my job was to take back engineered parts from spacecraft that we had shot down and give it to Honeywell and General Electric and different companies to figure out what to do with this technology. And out of that came integrated chips and fiber optics, and he has a list of things. Well, when you see that, you go, okay, then. It's more than just this planet. It's more than just people being evil on this planet. It's more than that. And it gets very big. It gets very hard to put in words. And you get to the point where you get cognitive dissonance with people where they just don't want to go there. Like, what are you saying? UFOs are responsible? Or what are you saying? And people don't want to hear it. But if you study everything, you can't ignore evidence. You can't do it. So I agree with what you said, that Henry said, that it kind of comes back to our own integrity. And this is a point I have for Christians, is that each of us, if we were to define what God is, we would use different words. And if we were to define who Jesus is for us, we would each say something different. And who Jesus was for the world, blah, blah, blah. We would do that. Each of us have to take responsibility for how we are going to stand and how we're going to walk. And what we're agreeing on is that there's something very destructive going on. And then our allies, we start seeing our allies. Our allies are not designated by their religion. They're not designated by their race. Nothing like our allies, are designated by their opposition to this destruction. And so we can embrace anyone who's against this destruction. And so if there's people with family values who have some other religion, in I don't know where, India or Tibet or somewhere, we can embrace them because they're fighting the same fight we're fighting. And I can vouch for that. I've been to Tibet. I've seen the microwave towers everywhere in Tibet, and I know how the Tibetan people who have a Buddhist background are being crushed by the Chinese government, which is organized by the communism was a Rothschild, Jewish creation, actually, and Mao Zedong's his economic advisor and finance minister is his title. His name was Israel Epstein, and he wrote Mao's Little Red Book. This is what is crushing the people of Tibet. So it's the same enemy, okay? So we have our allies not just by, they're not Christian or they are Christian, or we have our allies by, they're facing the same onslaught we are. Native Americans are facing the same onslaught. Whether they're Christian or not, they are being attacked. So who's doing the attacking? And then we look at that, and we ask, well, who's my tax dollars paying for here? Are my tax dollars going into Afghanistan? What are my tax dollars doing? So we each
paying back the interest on a debt that's unpayable.
There you go.
The whole thing is an absolute scam. Real quick, I wanted to interject here. Matt Smith posted, a lot of people, when they talk about geoengineering and chemtrails, says, watch this movie back in 1970 and you see chemtrails. Well, a lot of those have been photoshopped in. Matt Smith posted Railway Children film 1970 where there is no chemtrail, yet in the 2005 version has been photoshopped in a chemtrail in the background. Folks, this is really what's going on. The illusion, the matrix, they are pre-programming you. And Richie from Boston talks about this too. He's found multiple incidents where chemtrails have been put into older movies so that people, they've been there forever. It's just this mass hypnotist. I mean, it's hypnosis.
Wow. Sean, that's new information for me. Thank you. Yeah, I cover that a little bit, how cartoons are filled with chemtrails to, to feed the idea. So then there's two parts of what we can do. One is we need to get really clear on where we each stand, and then we have to have our outreach. And Sean is doing his outreach in his way. I'm doing mine my way. And there is a feeling of, preaching to the choir, and a lot of the people listening to this show right now might be regular listeners. But we are feeding each other's energy and our strength. And there is that. I mean, there are listeners here who've heard Sean many times but have never heard me. And now my energy's coming into it. And I'm coming to you, as someone who has Jewish blood and is totally down on this whole thing. Is down on the greater Israel and down on all that and down on what happens is happening to Syria and what happened to Libya and what happened to Iraq. I'm down on it.
Right. Ray, hold on, because we're going into a break. So when we come back, folks, we're going to talk a lot more about this. We're going to talk more about his website and his book. It's a fascinating read. I recommend you all go get it. I put the link in the chat room for everybody, so check it out. The Awakening Liberty Show. We'll be right back.
Real people, real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
I'll bust it one time. Truth and liberty. Fighting the New World Order and the tyranny. The Awakening Liberty Show with Sean Carone.
And welcome back to the Awakening Liberty Show. Final segment right here on truthfrequencyradio.com. All across America, all around the world. The number to call in is 866-26-TRUTH. Again, that number is 866-268-7884. Real quick, this segment is brought to you by dcwebdesigns.net and Future Dan over at futuredanger.com. If you need a website, check out Dave Christensen. He designed the awakeninglibertyshow.com website, dcwebdesigns.net. If you want a good way to follow the news, Future Dan over at futuredanger.com. His heat map indicator system is a great way to figure out what's heating up and what's cooling off. So check them out. Let's see here real quick. We've got, I want to welcome everybody listening on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Network, and the K-Star Talk Radio Network, as well as IPMNation.com. We're being carried live on all of those. And it's just awesome that that's going on. AwakeningLibertyStore.com, big sale, Mayday Madness. Use coupon code Mayday, again, Mayday at AwakeningLibertyStore.com and get 15% off of your entire order. My guest today is, in this hour, is Ray Songtree, author of the book and the series Lipstick and War Crimes, Begging Faith, Volume 2, Identifying the Assault on Virtue and Family. And I wanted to digress just a little bit here. We were mentioning the fact that about Smedley Butler, and I wanted to actually read that so everybody could understand what Smedley said. I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service, and during that period, I spent most of my time as a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street and the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. I helped make Mexico, and especially Tampico, safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefit of Wall Street. I helped purify Nicaragua for the International Banking House of Brown Brothers in 1902 through 1912. I brought light to the Dominican Republic for the American sugar interests in 1916. And boy, we don't even need to get into Monsanto, because that's what they were doing back then, was genetically modifying sugar. I digressed. I helped make Honduras right for the American fruit companies in 1903. In China in 1927, I helped see that that Standard Oil went on its way unmolested. Looking back on it, I might have given Al Capone a few hints. The best he could do was operate his racket in 3 districts. I operated on 3 continents. That's a very telling quote from his book, Smedley Butler, War is a Racket. Ray?
And so vets out there and people, families with vets in your families, this is real stuff. Smedley Butler wasn't a conspiracy theorist. He was telling it exactly how it is. And now people like him aren't called Edward Snowden. They're called Julian Assange. That's, and so all of us can take part in that. And the thing about my book, I think the value of it is that anyone listening could get the book, or the ebook is cheap, and give it to teenagers in your family. And there's enough color photos in it and enough celebrities that they know about that they will take an interest. And every page of it has something in it that's, for someone caught up in mainstream trance is mind-blowing. So that's, I think, the value of my books. It was the approach I chose to take, that to try to reach younger people. And, and the other way is that if younger people are watching this or listening to this, they can give this book to anyone in their family. And it has enough intellectual stuff in it and deep historical stuff that, they will reach the older generation. So that was my hope in writing what I did. And I'd like to say, Sean, that my website's 2 years old. I now have 1,100,000 page views in 2 years, and there's over 350 articles. And I feel like you do. I feel like, what are we doing? It's, I feel like throwing up my hands. But I am one of the people, another of the people, and you are, and I'm sure many of the people listening, who are waking up, and we're helping others wake up, and we're increasing the buzz. And all of us have a tremendous amount of knowledge. Like Sean just educated me about chemtrails being photoshopped into old movies. I didn't know that. So we all have a lot of knowledge to share with each other to broaden our own reach. So for me, I have a real camaraderie with Sean. I don't know if it's because I know his area of California, but I do, and I like Sean, and I feel it, and I hope he feels it with me, and so we support each other, and I hope my energy, my heart, my mind reaches out to whoever is listening to this, and I'm supporting you, and that's what we can help each other with. So anyway, that's my book. It was an attempt to bridge generations.
And give out your website, Ray.
Well, the easy way to find it is just raysongtree.com. That's faster. It will link to the Lipstick and War Crimes website, but that's hard. Raysongtree.com will get you there, and that's easy.
Yeah, if you just Google Ray Songtree, his website will pop up. So again, Google Ray Songtree. Yeah, or there you go.
.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And check out his book too. Like you said, we've got to keep. Even if I reach one person, if I get one person to stop and think, or one person to stop and scratch their head, or one person to realize that there is a supernatural war going on, and it is between the dark side and the good side. It is between Satan and God, and it goes all the way back to the garden. And there are so many. The evidence of it is all around us, folks. But you got to open your eyes, as the Bible said, for those who have eyes that can see and for those who have ears that can hear. But many people, Ray, do not want to hear this because they don't. And I'm going to use my mother as an example. She doesn't want to hear this stuff because she's focused on her own positivity, her own life, and everything that is going on in her life. So she's trying to stay positive. I can understand that. But at the same time, she's almost 70 years old. So she's lived her life, and she's paying attention to something else. But at the same time, I can't do that yet, especially when I have a 3.5-year-old son. Heck, he's going to be 4 in September. I can't believe it, Ray.
Right. Well, for the audience, I'm almost 70. And the thing is, we all have our own battles. I mean, your mom is a fighter in her world, And so those of us who, not everyone's a Paul Revere. I mean, Paul Revere was Paul Revere. There's thousands of people who could have done what he did, but he was the one who did it. So each of us, but we can inspire each other. It seems really daunting, the whole situation, but my outlook on it, Sean, is that we are eternal. We just go on and on and on and on. And whether you want to think of it, however you want to think about it, every moment of existence there's this challenge to be a good person and not to be tempted, and so that's forever. We're always going to be in that situation of, okay, I don't want to be tempted, I want to be a good person forever. So for people like Sean and I and many of the people listening to this, our road has taken us now to this battle. And it is a battle. There's a video, I think, Sean, I gave it to you. Did you see, I'm going to name it for everybody. It's on YouTube. The maker is Outer Dark. And it's 5 reasons the Vatican is infiltrated by reptilians or something like this, or Satanism. But just look up Outer Dark Vatican Audience Hall. And this is really, have you seen this one, Sean? It's like a 5-minute video.
I didn't see that one, no.
I swear, Sean is going to flip out, and every one of you will flip out. They built this giant hallway, and they have 6,000 people being able to sit and have an audience with the Pope. And it's been there since the 70s, so it's been there for almost 50 years or something. And so millions of people have been in this hall. And the design of the hall, when you step back and look at it, the whole thing is satanic, and it's very obvious in the pictures. And when you see the pictures, you cannot believe your eyes. There's serpent's eyes on the sides, and the whole thing is designed with fangs on the front stage. I'm serious. It's unbelievable, and that's the Vatican. And it's all subliminal. This message that they're putting there is subliminal. It's not something that if you're in the audience hall, you're going to notice. You almost need a 360 camera or a really wide-angle lens to realize you're looking into the mouth of a snake. It's unbelievable. It's one of the most mind-blowing things and I've been studying things for a long time. This was just 3 months ago or something. I ran into this, so when we say that there is a struggle of the satanic versus the non-satanic, I mean the good, the virtue, this is, some people would label this as a Christian terminology. Oh, those Christians, they're just making up this stuff. Hey, you look at that Vatican Audience Hall, it's no one is making this stuff up. This is for real. Wow. I'm blown away just to talk about it, but that's it. Outer Dark Vatican Audience Hall, and you should find the YouTube. He's done many YouTubes. He's a great researcher.
Yeah, in fact, folks here, I'm going to try and put a picture of that in the chat room real quick because it is very odd looking. In fact, it is very satanic as well. And that leads me into the Vatican. And there are many of those who say that the Vatican is actually where the Antichrist will rise from, that is the Whore of Babylon. And I mean, obviously with the Jesuits and the fact that it has been infiltrated, the evidence for that is overwhelming when you look at it with real honesty. It's disturbing to me that the cognitive dissonance, even within the Roman Catholic Church and the subjects, which is exactly what the Church calls them, that they are just completely oblivious to what's really going on.
If every Catholic could see this little video that you're posting, it would change everything. It's just like talking to veterans. Veterans want to be proud of their service, and Catholics want to be proud of their faith. But when you look at what Smedley Butler said and what the Vatican really is, then you have to break with it. You have to break. And people, I think one thing, Sean, is people don't know where they would turn to. And the thing is, all of us have love. We all know what goodness is, and for those who feel that, Jesus is their support, be it. Whatever the support is for a person's love, a person's goodness, as Henry, the little snippet I heard was, he talked about beauty and justice. And I want to get back to this, is we are sovereign individuals. We are. And everyone could die in a plague or something, and you would still be here, and you would still have choices. Each of us would be. And each of us could be handed, there could be a war, and every single one of us could be handed a little baby, an infant, and we would naturally want to take care of that baby and save that baby's life. That's what we are. We are loving beings. I mean, that we also have temptation is true, but we are loving beings. So we all need to return to that and start making our stand. One thing I like about Sean's outreach is he does talk about being a prepper, and a lot of others are doing that too. I mean, Alex Jones does it, Jeff Renz does it. A lot of people are saying, hey, let's get real here, and we better prep for an eventual economic bust because it's coming. And so that's the down-to-earth part. And it's all very daunting, is what I'm saying, but we will continue being good people. We will continue. Nothing will stop us. We'll be breathing our last breath and say, hell, I guess this is my last breath. I guess this is it for this lifetime. We'll be wanting to be a good person. So, I'm supporting everybody. We are good people, and we're going to keep exposing, and it is satanic, and I think it's alien, too. And I think, well, where's this going? What are we going to do about this? Well, we're just going to keep shedding light on it, because one of the things, Sean, that's very interesting is that the negative satanic people, they only thrive in the dark. They are like cockroaches. If you shine light on them, they run. They have to, because they're lying to themselves. And this is a psychological thing I can share with the audience, but the way Satanism works is you take somebody, let's say a celebrity or a politician, and you put them in a situation where they have to hide what they're doing. Like you start them with prostitutes, let's say, and then it gets into younger prostitutes, and then it gets into pedophilia, then it gets into satanic crap, like, child sacrifice. It's real. It's really happening. And what they do is they put a person into denial. They have to go into denial and say, well, I never did that. I didn't actually rape someone, or I didn't really do that. And once they go into denial, now you've split their personality. And now they're disassociated, and now they can be manipulated. And that's how Satanism works. Whereas if we expose all that, they can't hide. They can't go into denial. All of these people, all of these monsters, we could name them, so many. But if they were really shown, if it was really exposed what they're really doing, they would cry, they would weep, because they've been in a hell of denial and disassociation themselves. And so the Satanism is not just minions who perform the work of negativity. They themselves are put into a negative space where they're disassociated. Well,
and when it comes down to it, Ray, that is a form of mind control. And you make a good point that's where these people become disassociative. That's where DID comes from. That is where these fractured personalities come from. But the other interesting thing, when you were talking, the first thing that came to mind was understanding how Satanism works. It's perfectly clear in the Bible when Satan takes Jesus Christ up to the top of the mountain where he could see all the empires of the world, and he said, you can have all of this. You can do whatever you want. He tempted him in that fashion, and I saw this in the music industry. Write what we tell you to do what we tell you to do, just basically sell your soul. And then you get Katy Perry out there, Bob Dylan, multiple artists have said they literally sold their souls to the devil, again, because of the temptation. They were promised all of the wickedness. They were promised all of the sexual perversions. They were promised all the fame and the glory and the money and the big houses and the big cars and the yachts and the movie star life. That's what they were promised. And my question to you was saying that we are all good people. Yes, you and I are, and many people listening to the show, and many Catholics are too. I love my Catholic brothers and sisters. However, I think they're deceived. But there is a human nature element here that, and I've often talked about this with politicians going to Washington, because they may go there with good integrity and good character, and then all of a sudden they are put into a situation where the temptations are so off the hook, so crazy, that they basically fold into the satanic agenda out of human nature, their own greed, their own desires, and that seems to be happening all around us.
It's, in the police force, law enforcement, someone who comes into a police department as a Boy Scout mentality, he's labeled as a Boy Scout. The person or she, thinks that they can be a goody good guy all the time, and they quickly learn, well, that's not how the club works. We are involved with politics here, and we have to compromise again and again, and you're going to have to learn to do it too. So all that happens. Hey, if we want to go there right now, that's what has happened to Trump, obviously. So
I don't envy his position at all.
Well, yeah, I don't. This could be a whole segment, but I agree with those many other people who feel that Trump is confused. He has divided loyalties, and in going back to the Jewish thing. There is evidence that he actually is Jewish that came out. Jeff Rentz published someone did some genealogy studies. I have that on my website. I republished it. And, his daughter became a convert, Orthodox convert, and his son-in-law, Jared, is, he's surrounded by Jews, and his dad, his father, Trump's father, donated land and money to build a synagogue. So when we talk about the whole Israel agenda and what I already talked about, Ben Gurion and the Supreme Court of Israel and Greater Israel taking down all these countries so Israel can be expanded, Trump is not going to break from that unless he had some kind of visitation from divine visitation. I mean, that's how big a thing would have to happen. So he has divided things, but we all love him for other things he's done. He has done good things. But when we talk about human nature, I have this to contribute to this subject, and that is our nature is everything. We have all possibilities, and we can lean toward this or that. That is our nature. Our nature is not a constant. It's not always evil. It's not always good. We are choosing, and our choices are always relative, and meaning that, let's say I have a choice. Well, I'm going to save my family, or I'm going to save 10 families around me. Well, and my life depends on those 10 families. My family depends on all those other families. How can I make a choice? You see, so it's not clear choices that the human nature has to look at. So it is our nature to make choice, and the choice we then, the most important thing each of us have to do is have a stand that I'm going to try to choose good. I'm always going to try to choose good. And there's some people don't even have that coordinate,
Right. And Ray, Ray, that has a lot to do with the verse that keeps coming up on my show here. For a time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itchy ears want to hear. And I see that happening a lot. And I think it's pertinent to what we're talking about here, because many people get into that situation where they go, okay, having sex with minors and being a pedophile, and even partaking in the drinking of blood, these ritual sacrifices, those human nature desires are obviously coming from temptation. But we see this happening. They want to make this normalized. They want to make gender bias normalized. They want to make transgenderism normal. They're normalizing all of this. And it's sickening to me, absolutely sickening, that people are running because they want to embed themselves in those desires, and they're no longer listening to what's really good and what's evil.
In a way, it's a drunkenness. It's like, why do people drink alcohol? Why do people become alcoholics? There's kind of a desire not to face the responsibility of being a free thinker and a sovereign individual. And rather, we kind of want to check out and escape and get drunk maybe. And
I'll tell you why I became an alcoholic is that I wanted to engage in those perversions and that debauchery and that evil, and the drinking actually took away my moral guidance compass. That's exactly what it did to me, and that's why I became addicted to it. And that's what happened to me in the music industry with drugs and alcohol and sex.
Okay, yeah, that's a different way to look at it than I was thinking. I was thinking that people kind of do it. A lot of people are depressed. They do it out of depression. They get no rewards. They're not getting laid or whatever they think they're going to get. But you were in the music industry and you saw that happening, and I believe you. I completely believe you. So what I'm saying though is these are forms of drunkenness. And so then the next question would be, well, why would a person want to get into debauchery? And my point is, the reason is to not have to have the responsibility.
Absolutely. Ray, we're out of time. We're out of time, and you make a good point there. And breaking away from responsibility is something that a lot of people have to deal with. Coming up tomorrow, everybody join me. Gary Wayne will be on the program again. We will be talking about the prehistoric bloodlines of the giants and the dragon. Everybody tune in tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Gary Wayne, Ray, thank you so much for joining me. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.